Hi, I'm Dr. Manimala Selvi Naikar, histopathologist and statistician. This is not one of my usual evidence-based medicine videos. This is my new series on evidence-based citizenship. This is mainly intended for Malaysian Indians, regardless of where you are staying, living at present. Right now, anybody else who wants to watch it, please feel welcome to do so. Now, the first question is, why do we even bother to vote when we are such a small minority in the country? And the answer to that is we vote for one and only one reason. We want to ensure that a party which is competent to manage the economy is in office. Because if the economy is well managed, then we know how to help ourselves after that, right? That is something that we can't do ourselves because we are a small minority. We cannot ensure that the infrastructure for the economy is in place. Now, the people such as the MPs and the ministers that we vote in for, they are not our favorite grandma or auntie. They will say things from time to time that hurt our feelings and that might make us angry, but it does not mean that we vote against them. Their job is to take care of the economy. So if they have done that, then you have to consider that they have already done their job. Now, if we vote against a party which is competent, or we don't vote at all, that means we risk putting an incompetent party in charge of the economy. And when the economy backslides, then the effects will be felt mainly by the poorer sections of society, especially if you are a minority and you're poor. Now, every time a business starts in Malaysia, it gives rise to a ripple effect of prosperity, economic prosperity, right? Especially for the low and the middle income groups. Let's say a factory starts off somewhere. Right in front of the factory, someone can start a nasi lemak stall. Ladies can go and work there as tea ladies or as cleaners. So especially for the low income groups, economic prosperity of the country is very vital for their survival. So please vote, and vote based on economic track record of the parties that you are voting for. Don't sabotage yourself by not voting. Now, the second issue that is a very hot topic among Malaysian Indians is the issue of affirmative action and meritocracy. Now, firstly, affirmative action is a tool used by many different governments throughout the world because it works. There's a great misconception that it hampers a country's progress. India is one of the oldest, largest, and most enthusiastic proponents of affirmative action. It is also the first country to land a spacecraft on the south pole of the moon, which is apparently a very difficult thing to do. Right? Now, them practicing affirmative action did not stop them from being technologically advanced. Now, what affirmative action does is two things. One, it reduces poverty level, which in turn brings social stability. Poor people rioting does not pull in investments. The second thing it does is it gives an opportunity for the country to identify poor but brilliant youths to take the country to greater heights. Without financial aid and affirmative action, there is no efficient and consistent mechanism to identify these young, brilliant people. If you look at the biographies of some of the scientists that made India's lunar mission a success recently, you will find that many of them are youths from villages who were given an opportunity to get an education. Now, the problem with affirmative action arises when it is taken to illogical lengths and seeks to replace meritocracy, which it should not be, right? Example, some tasks have an inherent complexity in them, either administrative complexity or logistical or technological or scientific complexity. Here, meritocracy should be used to get the right man for the job. Because if you put someone incompetent in a very to do a very complex task, they will likely endanger our economic prosperity. So affirmative action is for grassroots empowerment and to maintain social stability, and meritocracy is to ensure success of complex missions to ensure economic progress. Elect the government that understands this very crucial difference. Now, the third thing that has upset Malaysian Indians unnecessarily, if I may add, is the issue of religious conversions. Now, the good news is it is not very easy to convert a Hindu, as repeatedly shown by history, right? Many ancient religions have disappeared. We are still around. Now, the problem with Hinduism is we are not just a monotheistic faith, we are a strict monotheistic faith. That means we believe there's only one God, and each person is allowed to call that God whatever name they want to call him, and they can pray to God in whatever way they want to pray. So we do not have a concept of trying to convert others to our way of praying, because it is illogical to do so since there's only one God. So the problem arises when you, or more likely your children, come into contact with people who try and convert them. So what can you do to prevent this? Now, the first thing that you can do is to teach your children Hinduism. It takes only a couple of hours to teach a teenager the basic concepts of Hinduism, right? Now, the second problem is the huge scriptural library we have in the form of itihasas like the Mahabharata and the Ramayana and the Puranas. Now, the way I handle this for my children is to call this scenario-based teaching of dharmic values, which are basically Leelas or Thiruvilayadal divinely inspired by our ancient rishis to teach us Hindu Dharma, right? Now, this is something that children don't have to learn all at once. Young children can just read the shortened or abridged versions of the various itihasas and Puranas. After all, they just need to learn the basic dharmic values in each Puranic story. Now, the Hindu Academy of UK and the Hindu Sangam of Malaysia have got very good resources to teach a child Hinduism. I will put the links down below, so please make sure you teach your child today. Now, the second thing that is very effective at preventing religious conversions is teaching your child evidence-based religion. Now, every religion has got two parallel histories to it. One is the religious history. This is the history that people who belong to that faith think of as the true history of the religion, right? Then you have something else known as the secular history of the religion. This is basically based on archaeological evidence, rock inscriptions, maps, paleography, manuscript evidence, even things like when was the last ice age? Was this city under water after the last ice age, and things like that. So what you need to teach your child is to do a forensic audit on every claim, to do a forensic audit using secular history on every claim that religious history makes, right? So that way your child will be able to respond correctly to those who try and convert them. Now, the third thing is to teach your children the religious laws of various countries and also the apostasy laws of various countries. Now, let's take an example, religion A. In one country, you can apostatize from religion A, and in another country, you can't, right? Same thing with marriage. Suppose your child wants to marry someone who professes religion A, right? Now, in some countries, your child has to convert to that religion before marrying the person, whereas in other countries, your child doesn't have to convert. So, for a Hindu, this poses a lot of theological problems, because we are taught that God is all powerful. If something is God's laws, it should be the same. God should be able to enforce His law in every country, right? So these are the things that you need to make your children aware of and to teach them. So once you teach them these things, then it is less likely that they will fall prey to somebody who's trying to convert them, right? Unless it is a legal requirement. Usually when you want to get married in some countries, you have to convert to that particular religion and things like that. So a lot of problems is just caused by our own lack of giving our children the right training. So I hope we, as a community, we will come together to emphasize these things to our children. Thank you for listening and for your evidence-based voting.